Hey, courageous school leaders. Welcome to Lead Beyond Limits, the space where school leaders like you gain unfiltered insights from educators, uncover the hidden barriers holding your staff back, and get practical strategies to lead with confidence. If you're ready to tackle the real challenges in your schools and create the clarity your team needs to thrive, you're in the right place. Let's dive in and get to work.
All right. Hey, courageous leaders. Welcome. So, we are in December. Today's December 1st, and this is the time of year when reaction feels normal, right? When reaction mode feels like the normal day to day for both you and your staff. Staff are tired, students are restless, everyone's threshold is thinner. And leaders, like you, feel the pressure from all sides, right? But here, I want to share a truth with you that we're going to unpack today. Reaction mode isn't just exhausting, it's expensive. And the real cost shows up in places most leaders never connect back to their own rhythm, right? It shows up in places where there's a rhythm that is missing. So by the end of this session today, you'll see reaction mode differently, right? Not as a response to chaos, but as a leadership pattern that quietly erodes culture, trust, and instructional outcomes. Let's get to it. I'm going to move quickly because there's a lot to cover today, and I need you to grab your confidence, your culture, your clarity and confidence guide that goes along with this. So grab it. All right, so let's get into it, okay? First, let me go back a little bit. I'm just jumping right in. I have a tendency to do that. Let me go back for those people who are new here. Hello, my name is Dr. Demia Thomas. I'm so glad that you could be here this evening. If you're watching the replay, mention it in the comments and let me know how this is resonating with you. Let's get into it. So let's go through some of what the real costs are, right? Because I talked about how when you are operating in reaction mode, it's actually not just exhausting, it's expensive. Here are the costs. So the first cost is reaction mode is actually damaging your leadership credibility, right? And this is something that most people want to avoid hearing or talking about. But every time you shift direction because of urgency, your team learns to wait for the real plan, right? Reaction mode teaches your staff, hold off. This priority might change again, right? It also messages to them, wait, he or she might update it after the next fire, right? So let's not keep rolling with this. It might even message to them, don't act yet. Something new might come down. So you lose credibility without ever losing, confidence, because your team isn't judging your intentions. They're judging your consistency. So let's clear this up. Consistency equals trust. Reaction mode equals unintentional mixed messaging, right? Intent versus impact. Huge in your role as a leader. Let's talk about cost number 2. Reaction mode creates an instructional drift, right? That's expensive. This is the cost leaders almost don't associate with in their own week. Like when you lead, when you lead reactively, instructional focus tends to drift, right? And it's not because your rhythm fragments. It's not because you don't want to follow through, right? It's because there are what the rhythm feels like is pieces throughout the instructional week. So here's what the reactive leadership would look like in a classroom. Okay, a teacher reteaches a standard that wasn't actually the priority. That happens a lot. Another example is a lesson. A lesson gets shifted because someone misheard or misunderstood your direction. It's a lack of clarity there. Another example is an AP gives feedback that doesn't match, the school-wide focus. Is your team all on one accord? Another example could be a team that, or a team meeting that becomes catching up instead of being really, really strategic. Student work may get analyzed in a rushed way, or even skipping some steps with the student work analysis, right? Kids may feel the inconsistency. Well, not may. Kids will feel the inconsistency long before the adults do in your building. Long before the adults even admit it. Okay, so instruction doesn't collapse all at once. It collapses in pieces over time. And reaction mode accelerates that collapse. That is extremely expensive. Cost number 3. Reaction mode undermines your adult culture. So adults mirror the leader's rhythm. We can agree with that, right? So when the leader is in reaction mode, here's what spreads: short tempers, waiting for direction, a lack of low follow through, fear of making the wrong move, second guessing, siloed decisions, decision fatigue, right? You get it. Over reliance on you as the principal. So reaction mode creates a culture where people are busy, but they're not aligned. Loud, but they're not coordinated. Working hard, but they're not making progress. I've been there. I've experienced it. I know what that feels like. It is so frustrating because you're working hard. Your staff are working hard, but it's not moving anything. And this is the part leaders rarely connect with, right? When we talk about this reaction mode, is when adults are inconsistent, students become inconsistent too. It is so easy to spot when you walk in a building. Very easy to spot. Last cost, this cost of operating in reaction mode. Cost number 4. Reaction mode erodes your decision making. Okay? When you are reacting all day, you lose the ability to think strategically. You lose the ability to pause long enough to look at the pattern, to look at the data that's in front of you. You can't really assess a real priority if you're reacting all day long in your decision making. It doesn't allow you to weigh options. It doesn't allow you to evaluate impact. It doesn't allow you to lead proactively, right? So reaction mode actually forces your brain into survival decision making. That type of decision making is fast, it's emotional and reactive. It's not reflective, it's not intentional, and it's not aligned. So you didn't lose your leadership skills, you have them. It's just that your nervous system is getting hijacked by all of this urgency, which is nonstop in a school building. So let me think about those costs that I've just shared with you, and write in the comments, like if you are experiencing any one of those costs right now, one or more, right? And think about writing in your clarity and confidence guide, like, what are some of the things that you can consider working on this month in December, so that you're bringing in the new year with a clean focus, right? And so let's talk about some things that are essential here. Like, some of the truths behind this is that, your reaction is a symptom. It's not a style, it's a symptom. right? Again, your nervous system is hijacked by this urgency. So you spitfire. Most leaders think reaction mode is a personality flaw. It is not, right? I hear comments like this, and I've been guilty of saying this too as a school leader early on in my principalship, is, oh, I'm not organized enough. I need better time management. I get distracted too easily, right? No, that's not the case, right? Most of the time, that is not the case. Reaction mode is a system issue and not a character issue. So you don't escape reaction mode by being disciplined. You escape it by creating a rhythm that makes discipline unnecessary. So this is the shift most leaders, most leadership, professional development or professional learning, that they don't touch, right? Because PD teaches strategy, but strategy doesn't fix rhythm. Strategy collapses without rhythm, right? Remember last week we talked about how you don't have, it's not a lack of clarity, because you have the clarity, you know what you want. It's sustaining that clarity over time. And this is where the rhythm piece comes in. So strategy will collapse without rhythm. And that's what's coming. That's why what's coming January 1st is going to matter so much. So let me share 3 things that you can do. 3 high impact shifts that you can do right now to help you break reaction mode. Ready? Okay. Shift number 1. Clarify your energy draining points. Where are the points in your day that is draining your energy? So every leader has 2 to 3 moments in the day where clarity absolutely collapses. It's not the crisis, it's the transitions, right? After morning announcements, right before dismissal, during the lunch block, an awkward midday gap, the post walkthrough slump. Identify those, name those, because once you see the clarity, your clarity draining points, like where the points during the day that actually drain you, you can start protecting yourself from them. So the first thing is to identify them. Where are those moments? For me, it was always after lunch. After a lunch block, especially because I walked through the lunch periods during the day to check, engaging with students, those kinds of things. I need that to fill my cup. It makes me feel good. But at the end of it, I am now drained. And I didn't realize that until taking inventory of my day. So identify those points, those moments during the day that are actually draining your clarity. Okay? Here's the second thing I need you to think about making this shift. I need you to create one rhythm anchor that your team can count on. So this isn't a routine, right? It's more like a promise. So an anchor, I need you to consider it like this. An anchor is something your team knows will happen no matter what. It could be a Monday clarity moment. It could be a weekly alignment email. It could be taking a 7-minute reset, even though adults need recess too. A 7-minute, 8-minute reset. It could be a non-negotiable leadership huddle at the beginning of every day, right? At the end of a meeting, a repeated closing question, right? Again, this is a routine. It is something that they know will happen regardless of what happens during the day. It is that consistency that sets the foundation. So this anchor is going to stabilize your team, and it's going to give your staff a baseline, right? So they're going to stop drifting before it even starts. When you have this one thing that you're going to do consistently, pick one, think about it. The third thing that I need you to think about doing, and I hope you're jotting this down in your clarity and confidence guide, is the power of one. right? The spark rhythm that I've been talking about for the past 2 months, the power of one. Choose one area where you will not react. What's one area you will not react? I had to grow so much in this as a school leader. Um, it being a principal taught me how to be more humble, um, especially and understanding parents and where they're coming from. Um, and so, an area that I chose not to react was when I was dealing with parents because I realized that they all, every last one, I don't care who it is, I don't care what they're doing, what struggles they have, what addictions they have, every single parent or guardian is an advocate for their child. They want what's best for their child. Now, the way in which they go about advocating for their child is something different. I had to learn that. And that helped me not react to parents, right? So choose one area where you will not react. So this is where you grow as a leader. It's where I grew. Choose one thing that you will no longer allow urgency to override, right? It could be your instructional focus, team commitments, your meeting cadence, teacher support plans, feedback cycles, student work protocols. Pick one thing where you will not react to it, right? My example was not reacting to parents and creating a negative culture. In this instance, I'm asking you to pick one thing that you, out of all the things that you're doing, right? For me, the thing that I chose not to react to was an instructional focus. It took a while for me to do that because my dogged determination for making sure that we're doing right by Black and brown kids is non-negotiable. And so I had to learn how to not react when staff were not aligned to the same thing that I was, right? So pick one thing that you will no longer allow urgency to dominate. So this is going to teach your team our work doesn't bend every time something happens. Right? That message alone is going to change the culture in your building, and it's going to do it fast. But the key here is you must be consistent. Again, clarity you have, sustainability is what we're talking about right now, right? And the courage to not have anything interrupt that intention and that focus that you have, right? Hence why you are a courageous leader. So hopefully you have been taking some notes in your clarity and confidence guide. I need you to reflect for this week, first week in December. I need you to reflect, right? But so before you move into the next session with me or any other session video that you watch, because one thing as educators, we're gonna learn. I need you to make sure that you have your clarity and confidence guide. And again, if you don't have it, send me a DM and I will send you the link. It's absolutely free. So in the section that says control your narrative, I need you to think about what story you are telling yourself, or what story are you telling yourself in reactive weeks. Like the weeks where you're most reactive, what story are you telling yourself in your mind that is making you feel reactive, right? And I'm asking this because we are human beings and we can't separate from our work. Your narrative will shape how urgently you are leading, right? So again, controlling your narrative means the story that you're telling yourself and the weeks that you're being reactive. So you're being aware, like this metacognition, aware of how you're thinking and feeling, and again, because your narrative is going to shape how you are leading. In the section, tell me if that makes sense in the comments. In the section for lead with confidence, I need you to ask yourself the question, where does reaction mode break your confidence and why? Right? Because confidence will erode quietly. right? But you have to name the cracks before you repair them. So where is it breaking your confidence? Where's reaction mode actually, putting these nice little neat cracks into your confidence that we don't want to happen? So think about that. And then in the third part of your clarity and confidence guide, build your legacy, because those are the three things that we focus on as the pillars for every Lead Beyond Limits discussion. Build your legacy. What future, think about this, what future culture are you creating right now through consistency or inconsistency that your team sees? What future culture are you creating right now through your consistency or the lack of consistency that your team and your staff are seeing, right? So this level of reflection is going to prepare you for next Monday on the 15th. Okay. I'm going to be in NASB presenting. I hope if anyone here is going to be there, come and check me out and see my session, which is happening on the 11th, I believe. So that session is going to be pre-recorded, but I need you to think about those three questions under controlling your narrative, lead with confidence, and build your legacy. I need you to think about those three reflective questions to prepare for next week's LBL, Lead Beyond Limits session, okay? It's going to prime you also for the system that is dropping on January 1st. So excited about that, okay? So next week, we're going to talk about one priority that changes everything for the second semester, right? Because the year is gone already. Not the priority you want, but the priority the rhythm requires. And on January 1st, leaders are getting access to something built specifically for moments like this, okay? So what moments am I talking about? I'm talking about where clarity is fading and momentum is slipping, right? And the leadership rhythm needs to be reset for sustainability. No extra tasks, no more overwhelm, right? Being a principal is overwhelming because you're dealing with a lot of lives. It's a lot of responsibility, and that in and of itself can be overwhelming, right? But this system is a system that you can use to protect, your time, your space, your clarity, okay? So until then, I need you to keep leading beyond limits, and I will see you next week. Have a fantastic evening.